Hello friends, I'm Brian, and this is Gizmo Board Games. Today I am doing a little countdown. I couldn't quite get to 10, so it's just going to be a top 9. And it's a top 9 of my favorite game component, upgrade, add-ons, whatever you want to call them. Things that don't typically come standard, things you might have to pay a little bit extra to get, or some games start to include them now, but for the most part, these are things that you're going to have to get kind of on the side or as an additional add-on or whatever in most games. And while I might address some specific examples that I have, this list is just going to be talking about generalities. So even if I show some examples from what I have, it's not going to be like this is the best example of that component. Just it's the component I had handy to show off as an example of said component. With that said, let's go ahead and get started with my number 9. My number 9 is a component upgrade, whatever you want to call it, that I personally don't have, and maybe I'll cut in an example, a picture here from Amazon or Board Game Geek or Etsy. I think actually probably has the best example of this component. But this component is the specialized cubes. Most games come with cubes. The games I have that I know offhand that I've definitely seen upgrades for that I've contemplated getting and just haven't pulled the trigger on yet are Arc Nova and Wingspan, games where you use cubes to kind of designate your action or your marker or whatever the case is. But in these two specific examples, the Etsy components have little birds or little animals for Arc Nova that take the place of the cubes in the player color. That way you just get a little bit more of that involvement in the game. Instead of moving cubes around, you're moving your little animals around, your birds. You're using them. You can physically see them. They just add that little bit extra of bringing you into the game. And I think they're really neat, but that they're number 9 on my list because I don't have them because they're just not that necessary. Not that any of these things on the list are necessary, but some I feel are more necessary than others for the enjoyment of the game. These being the least necessary to enjoy the game. The cubes and whatnot work just fine in the game. This is purely a cosmetic upgrade. Speaking of purely cosmetic upgrade with a little bit more, my number 8 favorite board game component / upgrade / whatever you want to call it is the fancy wooden box. I have one example here. Let me see if I can bring it the right way. This is my wooden box that I have for Dinosaur Island. It holds my expansions and the base game. I really should get it stained so everything pops more. Hopefully you can kind of see it if you haven't seen this already anywhere. I just really like it because it's a real nice upgrade for a game I really enjoy, and it looks good on the shelf. But other than that, it serves no actual purpose in the game. I could do just fine with the cardboard boxes, no problem at all. Everything would still be held in the box. I just like this specific component. This is the only one I have, but I've seen others for other games, and it's really nice, but really expensive. So it's definitely not something you need, and only would be a good cosmetic if you choose to make the upgrade. I think I used some birthday money to kind of splurge on this for myself, and I like it, but it's number 8 because it's completely 100% unnecessary. It's heavy, kind of bulky. It's definitely not the best upgrade to improve anything at all, other than it looks really nice on the shelf and could be a talking point. So that's my number 8 favorite board game component upgrade. A wooden box. All right, and my number 7 favorite board game component / upgrade component, whatever you want to call these, is going to be stickers. Specifically meeple stickers for the most part. Not all games, games with meeples, they work just fine. I've got an example of just a standard meeple. Hopefully that comes in pretty good. From Camel up, boom, it's a camel. It's camel meeple, works for the game, does its job, works just fine. Now I'm going to show you some examples from, and you can see it kind of here, my Everdell big box collection where I stickered my meeples. So instead of having a butterfly shaped meeple, I've got stickers on it. So it just adds that little bit of enhancement. Hopefully this is coming in all right. There you go. You can get a little bit more detail. That's just a sticker that I spent a bunch of time sticking on it. It doesn't serve any actual purpose, but it makes the meeple just pop that much more than an unstickered meeple. The game comes unstickered. The big box collection had the stickers in them. And I spent probably a good hour, hour and a half or more stickering all the meeples just to make them stand out that much more. Completely unnecessary, but it just makes them look so much better on the table and on the board that I really like when you have the option at least to get stickers for the meeples and just make them stand out that much more. But again, unstickered meeple does the job just as easy. No problem. An unnecessary upgrade, but I really, really just like when the option is there to have a stickered meeple. My number 6 favorite board game component upgrade is starting to get into the realm of these are almost getting needed, necessary for enjoyment in a way, but still completely unnecessary. You don't have to get them in any way, shape, or form. But they're where a lot of the board game industry really starts making their money is in my number 6, and that's minis or standees. There are a lot of acrylic standees these days instead of minis, but either way they serve the same purpose. They replace, and I'm going to show an example from one of my favorite games, Final Girl. In Final Girl, the game comes with these just meeples. Again, we're talking about meeples, upgrades for meeples. We got a villain and we got a Final Girl. These come with a box. You can play just fine with them. Let me see if I can get them into the screen here. You can play just fine with the meeples that come in the box, no problem. But if you upgrade and get the minis, it just gives you the opportunity, especially if you like to paint. I don't like to paint, but I like having my meeples painted or my minis painted. So I've been working on getting them painted. I finished season 1. I'm working on season 2 now. Let me see if I can get that. But this just adds that little bit of involvement. You've got a nice girl on the table. You've got your villain right there, visible, ready to attack, good to go. And I spent time and effort in painting. That added a little bit to the hobby. But just having all these girls on the table, different girls with their own personal uniqueness. And again, board games sell based on the minis. People spend hundreds of dollars getting games with a bunch of minis for the hobby because they like to paint them, because they just like the way they pop. And I don't know, which do you think's better? Moving, see if I keep putting these too high. Moving little meeples around the board gets the job done. Plays the game, no problem. But then I just pulled out 5 examples of the Final Girls and 1 example of a villain, and it just adds that much more to the game having these moving around the map instead of these, and that's why they're my number 6 favorite upgrade component. Again, completely unnecessary. I don't even go out of my way to get games that have minis, but if minis come with the game and I can get them painted and just adds that little bit to it, I'm all for it. But I'm not someone who's going to go out of my way to seek out getting the minis for games that don't need them. There are plenty of games I have that have optional minis that I just haven't got. But because I got the Final Girl complete all in, I got minis, I painted them up, I've added them to my game, and they've made it just that much more enjoyable having them moving around the map instead of wooden meeples. Hey, editing Brian jumping in here. Apparently I can't count, so I missed my number 5 when I was going through my list while filming and just noticed while putting the video together. So anyway, my number 5 and number 4 and 5 are going to be pretty similar in that they're replacement parts that you don't need because they're replacing pieces that come standard and work just fine. I think that's true of most of these actually, but 4 and 5 are really similar. And you'll see once we get to 4, I kind of hint back towards number 6 because I skipped number 5 in that comment. But anyway, for my number 5, it's going to be wooden or resin or whatever upgraded bits. So I brought the example of Isle of the Cats. I've got these wooden fish, and in the game it comes with the cardboard pop-outs. But the wood ones just, components, especially if they're shaped like what they're supposed to be. There's plenty of games where you buy the wood component, it looks like a little tree, or they've got like the shapes of the fruit or veggies or the resource that you're using. They're shaped and colored right instead of just a drawing on a thin piece of cardboard. And yeah, they just give you that little bit more feel, a little bit more realism in the game. The fruit berries, especially from Everdell. I don't know why I said Everdale. The berries from Everdell are a little bit squishy. They just bring that little bit more realism to the game. And that's why I like getting these upgraded little bits whenever I can to replace the cardboard and just add some more realistic touch to the games. And that's why number 5 is the cardboard or resin or acrylic or whatever, just the upgraded resource bits. Now my number 4, and again, I mentioned with the last one, we're really getting into things that are almost necessary. None of these, again, are ever necessary, but as I get down to my number 1, I feel like you almost have to have these to play the game. And this is probably the last one where I personally don't care to try to upgrade them, but I love it if I can. And it's going to be metal coins. I just love having metal coins. Listen to that. They just make the game more real. If you're dealing with money in the game and you have a chance to use actual money, metal coins, everybody's used to using metal coins in real life, they add so much more. But games come with standard. Every game that has money in it is going to give you the paper money or the cardboard things to pop out, and you can play the game. You do not need to upgrade your coins. These are usually quite pricey even for something that you don't need. But if you can add them to your game, or if they come with an upgrade you're already going to get anyway, they just add so much more to it. They're so chunky. People around the table just love playing them, love the feel. They feel like they've got real money. It's not game money anymore. Now they're in the game. They're playing with real, tangible coins, and it just adds that much more depth, enjoyment, and feel, and sound. And people love seeing the different coins. If you pull out specialized coins for the games, I know I've got the ones for Libertalia, Winds of Galecrest. I think they come standard, or at least they came standard with the game I got. I didn't go out of my way to get the coins. But just lots of games have their own special coins, and they can be a conversation piece every time you introduce a new game. If you've already got a bunch of games with coins, but now you're playing a game with a different coin. It's a different shape, it's different colors, it's different size, it's different design. It's got neat art. Like the ones I pulled for the example, they're from the Spelled City collection, so they don't have the greatest art on them as an example, but they still get the job done. I really like having the metal coins handy to use, and that's why that is my number 4 favorite board game component upgrade, metal coins. And now for my number 3 favorite component upgrade for board games, and we're getting to the thing where I almost always get these if I feel the need to. Just to keep the game alive longer, I think. And especially if you're playing a lot of deck builders, games where you're handling cards a lot throughout the game, and it is going to be card sleeves, and they come in different shapes, colors, sizes, brands. I've gotten here a couple different brands, but blue, brown in there, green, little ones. I use these for I think the West Kingdom games have the little cards, and a couple other ones I have. Some are thicker than others. These are really thick and nice and beefy. And the ones I get the most of are going to be the Mayday ones, just because they're usually the most affordable, and they have plenty of variety of sizes for every need I have. So, but all kinds of different brands, sizes, colors, shape. Well, I guess shapes are going to be whatever, card shaped. But yeah, just I feel like it's going to give my games just that extra longevity. Having the sleeves, they're going to have less wear and tear on them, or accidents. I've got cup holders at my table, but people don't always use them, or the cup might not fit, and there could just be accidents. And hopefully the sleeves just help protect my games. And again, especially if the games that just have a lot of cards that are going to be handled often. Deck builders, I play a lot of deck builders, so those are cards that are going to just get constantly handled, especially all the starter cards, and they could still really start to wear and stand out. And I don't want them to, the starter cards that are handled all the time, to stand out from the cards that are less often handled. So I'm pretty much at the point where I almost always get sleeves for my games. Now, if it's got a lot of handling of cards, if it's cards that you're just going to pull out once and lay on the table, not that big of a deal. But especially deck builders, and I have a lot of those, as I've mentioned, I'm gonna probably try to sleeve them. The downside of sleeving is I do like to shuffle, and the sleeves make it harder to shuffle. You either got kind of table shuffle or like slide shuffle, and I'd rather just ruffle, whatever. I'd rather do the normal shuffle a few times and then call it good. And so sleeves do slow down, especially if you got a big stack of cards like an Arc Nova or Terraforming Mars. It's really going to slow down setting up the game for the initial shuffle. But after that, you're good to go. You've got your sleeve cards. They're going to be protected. They're going to last. And I don't know, I kind of like the feel of them a little bit too, especially if you got some of the weaker cards. Not all card stock is created equally. So some are just flimsier than others. And if you get a nice sleeve around them, it helps them not feel as lesser, I guess. So I really like card sleeves, and I used to not, but as I've got more and more of them, I really feel like they're almost necessary, but not quite. This is my last not necessary board game component upgrade. The next two I'm going to almost say are completely necessary for the enjoyment of the game or the specific style of game. And so that's why they're in my top two. Let's get to it. All right, my number 2 favorite board game component upgrade, and again, this is almost necessary in my opinion, and that's why I enjoy it, and I've got almost all of them that I need for the games that require them, and it's going to be your acrylic bits, especially for like deck builders, or bag builders I should say. Nice heavy plastic pieces. I've got my example of my upgraded bits here instead of the cardboard. I don't know if you can tell the difference on camera, but here's the cardboard bits, and I have the TMG ones, which I believe are thicker than the capstone version of, and this is for Orleans, by the way, if you didn't recognize the Orleans upgraded bits. It's a bag builder game that I really love, and TMG went out of business, but Capstone Games picked up Orleans, and I think their cardboard bits are actually thinner, so I think I've got the best of the best cardboard bits I could have for the game, and I still decided to upgrade them for these nice plastic acrylic chunky. They just sound good in the bag, they feel good in your hand, they look good on the board. They add so much to the game that I can't believe I was playing without them before. I tried the coin pouches. They didn't actually fit for Orleans, which is why I got these in the first place. I do have some coin pouches for sister game Altiplano. Still, I haven't upgraded to the acrylic bits yet, but I will. I just haven't done it yet. But I'm using the coin capsules, which is a valid optional instead of you can put the cardboard bits in the coin capsules if you look up what size you need. That works just fine for giving it some longevity and the good feel in the bag as opposed to the cardboard. So I would recommend that if you can't get the upgraded bits. But for a bag builder specifically, I would say upgrade your cardboard bits in some way, shape, or form. I think they just feel better. They sound better in the bag. They're easier to draw out. They don't stick to the side of the bag. And I feel like they'll add some extra longevity. These things, they're paper. They're gonna warp and tear potentially, and eventually fall apart. And if you get nice acrylic bits, they're not gonna fall apart. If you put them in coin capsules, they'll give them just a little more longevity too. So either way, I definitely recommend upgrading, especially for bag builders, your cardboard bits into, if not the acrylic upgraded bits, then into coin capsules, just to give them that longevity, that feel, the sound. It just makes that much more enjoyment, more fun, more everything for the game. And that's why that's my number 2 favorite board game component upgrade. And finally, my number 1 must-have, and this is a must-have. If anything on this list is a must-have, it is this. I I can't stand when my games don't have this. I'm constantly on the lookout to fill that gap in my collection where this upgrade does not exist, because it just infuriates me to have to open a box and sort through the mess that's in the box and make baggies and stuff when I could just have a nice insert. And this is Lacrimosa. It's got just the nice, everything's organized. It's easy to set up, pull out. I can pull this out, put it on the table. It's got the resources I need. It's got these fit perfectly in the slot here, so they don't slide around. It doesn't make a mess. Like you've seen this behind me, it stands up right there, and everything is still nice and neat in its place despite keeping it vertical on my shelf. The cards are just in their own slot. Everything's got its own place. Everything's held in nice and tight. It infuriates me when games have so many components and don't have inserts. And that's I love the Feld City collection. I don't know if you can see, it's right there next to me. And those have all these great components and cars and everything, and they're just shoved in the box. And if it had a nice insert, I would pull them out more often than I already do. And I like the game. If you got the deluxe edition of the Feld City collections, they've got nice Game Trays, I believe, did the inserts, and they do wonderful work. If you've never seen Game Trays inserts for games, go check them out. Folded Space makes some nice, affordable, not balsa, what is this? These, and they're working on the screen printed, and these are nice, lightweight, but they get the job done, and they work so well and so neat. And there's so many other insert companies. The box I showed you in my number 9, who's that? Why can't I think of who that is? It's not E-Raptor, but E-Raptor also makes semi-affordable wooden boxes. Broken Token is the one who did my wooden box for Dinosaur Island. There's just so many options, whether you want something super fancy and wooden from Broken Token and E-Raptor to a lesser extent, to just something that will get the job done and is affordable, such as the ones from Folded Space, Game Trays. If you want plastic ones with the lids, those are cool. I've got some of those. I've even made my own inserts based on just looking at pictures of other inserts. You can 3D print inserts. I've got some 3D printed inserts for my Clans of Caledonia game and one of my other games. Inserts are, for me at least, a must. They just make setup and tear down so much easier. You pull things out, you set them around the board, and you get started. You're playing the game, clean up, you put it back in, put it away, you're done. Some of them are a little bit of a puzzle to figure out, but it's well worth it instead of pulling baggies and trying to figure out what went in which baggie and how to squeeze them in with the game boards. There we go. The player boards, everything could flop all over the place if they don't have their spot. And that's why, if you don't get any other board game component upgrade, and I might have forgotten a few that I just didn't think of at the time, but if you get anything from my recommendations for a board game component upgrade, it is inserts. I'm so happy that most games these days are already putting them into their box design, and especially on Kickstarter. So they're not always something you got to think about getting as an upgrade, because they're starting to be included more and more often, and that is great. They need to continue doing that because they are almost a must-have. They're the most must-have thing on my list. That's why they're at number 1. Board game inserts are the component upgrade that I feel I must have for every single one of my games, and that is why it was easily the number 1 choice for this list. If you like this list, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe below if you're not already a member. I bring you a video a week, and sometimes more than that. I do reviews. I do top lists and content such as this. I've had discussions. I've just done all kinds of things. I'll continue to look to do more and different varied things. So let me know in the comments below some suggestions for other ideas that I might consider. What did you think about this list? What are some components, especially that I might not have just thought of at the time and would have included otherwise? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.